Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Real Stories of Success podcast. I'm Ryan Herget sitting here with Austin Lara, and we have got an amazing treat for you today. A keynote speaker and Amazon best-selling author. Austin, who are we talking to today?
We're talking to Glenn Bill. So excited to have you on here. Thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you guys. I'm a follower of your podcast. Love what you do, and it's something that I have on my iTunes account ready to go.
That's
so
awesome.
It's an honor to be here.
That's great. So I've actually had the honor of listening to you speak publicly. Tell us some of the places so the audience knows who have you spoken to in big group settings, who have you been invited by, that kind of thing.
Sure. I speak anywhere from San Diego to Boston, Massachusetts.
Very cool.
When it's all been said and done. Some of the biggest audiences we've done were in Denver. I did a large security protection like co-op.
Okay.
And they were like folks that made security systems that, there was 300 members, and they all come into the auditorium, and then it turns out half of them, interestingly enough, were in the bed, furniture, and appliance business. Half of them were in home security.
Okay.
And then, of course, I get hired by famous Tates out of Tampa Bay, and I spoke to 400 or 500 of them. Obviously, I've been a keynote speaker and main stage speaker for Wells Fargo, the major companies, Chase. But, my favorite and the one nearest and dearest to my heart is, the one and only Fairway Mortgage, and I've been able to speak to them.
I'll write you a check for that later. Yes.
No. Well, just so you know, I for all the real estate agents out there, we got an offer on a home that was on the market 2 days, $5,000 over list, and they were going with a competitor that I wasn't, it was a internet type loan servicer. I said, I'm not really sure about this. And these folks had closed on their home and were going to live in a hotel or an Airbnb for $2,400. Mm-hmm. I was on the listing side, not even on the buying side. And I said, can we have Fairway look at this? Because I know they can do an FHA loan in 7 days. She goes, you're kidding me. I'm like, no, I'm serious. So, of course, they did. We closed it yesterday.
I love that.
So saved them $3,800 from the GFE that they had received from the internet bank. And they saved $2,400 in Airbnb fees. And we're talking, it was a Homes for Heroes program. Nice. So we're talking about a teacher saving $5,600 just by making a good decision and going with, Fairway Mortgage. So listing agents out there, I would encourage you, if you're a little skeptical, give Austin a call and let his company do what they do. It's crazy good.
Very much appreciated. Did not ask for it.
I understood. Well, again, you helped a lot. Your company helped a lot of people out. So, but yeah, I've spoken to the largest banks. I spoke for Realty One Group, one of the largest independents out in Las Vegas. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Well, anyway, I've been around and done a lot. I keynote about 36 keynotes a year.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So let's kind of circle back to the very beginning of all of this, Glenn, because you've been in the real estate business for a long time. You've been in the speaking business for a long time now as well. You've written an Amazon best-selling book. You've got a really, really cool story.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, let's kind of back up to the very beginning of that.
Right.
How'd you get started with all of this? You're a guy that brings great energy, great enthusiasm to a room. So how'd you get started?
Sure.
Walk us down that path.
Well, to be honest with you, I was a Division I college football player, and I started a family at a very, very young age. And I needed to find a place to live, and I walked into an apartment, and a guy by the name of Dusty Asbury showed me the apartment. He's like, you have no job. You're really, really young, but we're looking for a leasing agent. And we hit it off. He leases me the apartment. I get into the property management side, becoming a leasing agent. And I created programs for the public that took Van Roy Properties, who's pretty substantial here in Indianapolis, from a 72% vacancy rate to, a 72% occupancy rate to 98%. And Dusty goes, man, you're good at putting people in living quarters. You should get a real estate license. So at the age of 19, I went and got my real estate license. Could not get hired. Went to the biggest brokerages in town. And a little old Century 21 broker out of an old steak and ale building said, I'll take a chance on this guy. And from there, I became one of the top listing and sales agents in a 70-man company. I didn't know any better, right? I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm sitting there going, dressing up in suits and talking to people, not a tough way to make a living. I had worked, through getting my real estate license. I went to college, worked at Mr. Video, and I worked third shift at a bindery downtown,
Wow.
shoveling paper and cleaning, God knows what. No ill effects from that. And so when you couple doing factory work and being a Division I football player, hard work is not, our business is not hard. At least it wasn't for me. I'm like, compared to what I used to go through, not a big deal. And then I just fell in love with what I did. And I leaned on the masters to help me learn the business. And that was, the Mike Ferry Superstars program, Floyd Wickman Sweat Hogs, Tom Hopkins Official Guide to Success, all those guys. And they've all become friends. They've all become mentors to me. And have them all in my phone. They'd pick it up and call me. So, I trained myself. I immersed myself. But I did the activity. I mean, when it's all said and done, you got to do the labor. And labor and activity, and some people, women's unique experience of labor creates new life. And just as you guys are doing with Real Stories of Success, you're putting in the labor with the podcast. I'm sure that this is going to create new life for you and your businesses. And so that's what I do. I don't stand still. I always reinvent myself. I'm always moving forward on to the next thing, because if you're not on the bus, you're going to be under the bus pretty quick, and I just try to be the bus.
You literally led right into the question that I wanted to ask you, right? So sitting there and I was doing some research and I've known you for a while now. I think most of our audience would like to know, how do you market yourself? I mean, you do such a great job of marketing, right?
Thank you.
And you do it, you've got all these hats that we just talked about, right? Author, speaker, real estate agent. Tell the audience, give them some pointers, right? So someone that's maybe newer to the industry, what are some of the things you're doing out there that have really worked, and maybe some of the things that haven't worked that you spent some money on?
Yeah, so, the biggest thing when it comes to marketing is you got to get over yourself. I train real estate agents all over the country, and the biggest issue they have is agents that promote themselves are such assholes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm cool being that guy because I don't care what people think. So, like, the number one rule of marketing is get over yourself. Put yourself out there, and there are going to be haters, okay?
Yeah.
People are going to hate you, especially your competitors, especially your family, especially your friends, and they're going, so, everybody's going, Glenn is everywhere, and there's people that don't like that, right? There's people that judge you, and you can't worry about that. So if you don't have the emotional intelligence, if you don't have the mindset that I'm going to market, then it's never going to work anyway. And then obviously the key to marketing is when you do market, you want to either be, number one, entertaining as hell, or you want to add value to the person, to the consumer. And so we try to add value, and or we try to produce entertainment so people at least are engaged.
Yep.
And I'm on every, I'm mainly a Facebook, LinkedIn guy.
Okay.
Would like to do more on Instagram, but there's only one of me. And so those are my two main social platforms is, Facebook and LinkedIn, and I'm on there and I pound that pretty hard. And then I obviously have many Facebook pages. I have the Glenn Bill Group Facebook page, the University of Attitude Facebook page, the Attitude Movement Facebook page, Glenn Bill personal Facebook page. LinkedIn, I got 2 accounts there. So we try to post 3 to 4 times a week. We try to give value. We try to be entertaining. And then I have our YouTube channel, which is Glenn Bill Training, which has, 130 videos. Our wonderful Studio J, Jason Jolliffe, has done a great job with that. And David Douglas out of Atlanta has been taking over our YouTube page a little bit. So if you want to see me live on stage, and if you want to see our podcast, the Get Attitude podcast, our YouTube channel is a great way. So it's a concerted effort. It's not cheap. It's a mental drain. It's not easy. But it's a commitment, and either you do it or you don't. And if you're going to do it, you may as well do it right. And if you're a scared marketer, you're going to have scared customers, is what I say.
True.
So you're not going to be attractive to anybody.
And for those that are just listening, we're going to have this you on our video. So the people that are actually watching this, you're gonna see all of those different sites in the background.
Cool, man.
So
Thanks.
I want to dive one layer deeper into what you just said right there from a marketing standpoint. One of the things Austin and I were talking about earlier is, we always want to be able to provide somebody that's listening something practical, actionable that they can literally go to work on right now.
Right.
So from a marketing standpoint, you just laid out a ton. You're using Facebook and 3 different, Facebook pages. You've got LinkedIn and 2 different pages there.
Right.
You've got all this stuff going on. How do you prioritize? How am I going to put something out there that's entertaining or something that is of value? How do you strategically look at that every week and say, all right, here's how we're going to do this to best impact our audience?
Right. So I hire someone to do that.
Nice.
Because I'm not strategic and I'm not planned. And if I have enough content that I can just go reach in a Dropbox and post it. And so I tend to be more raw and real. And if I don't have anything, I'm just going to jump on and do a live real quick for 2 or 3 minutes and just try to speak from the heart and say what I'm doing. But I have a guy, Ewan Swan, who is Paramarketing Solutions out of Bloomington, and he does a lot of my web work. And so he'll be the guy that will take the content. Sometimes he'll create the content. He'll boost the content. We'll measure the results. And we're having a lot of good success with that on the real estate side. He's kind of taken that over. And so the bottom line is, honestly, I wake up Monday and the next thing I know, it's Monday again.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to post something. But, throughout 10 years of being in the National Speakers Association, over 300, 400 keynote addresses, all filmed. And Jason does a great job editing and creating snippets. That's what I'm posting. So I wish I could tell you, and I'm trying to get planned, and Jason and I are going to talk about that. But the bottom line is I'm a doer, not a planner.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
That's the deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So in a lot of the things that people can read about you or watch the videos or anything, you talk about doing one great thing a day.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you,
I love
man.
that.
Thank
so
you.
So
Right.
walk us through, what is that? Explain that to the audience. What is do one great thing a day?
Right. So if you want to be remembered tomorrow, you have to do one great thing today. Mm-hmm. And one of my mentors, Clint Arthur, talks about the zombie effect is if you go into any public place or if you're driving, 99% of the people look like zombies in the world.
Yeah.
Right? They're waking up, they're eating breakfast, they're eating lunch, they're going to dinner, they're watching the news, they're doing their thing without even considering being memorable to somebody today. And so the question is, how memorable are you going to be? Who are you going to engage with? It comes to living a purposeful life. Are you waking up every day saying, I'm going to jack somebody's world today? And when you really get good, you try to do 5 or 10, right? Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm a speaker, because I try to do 500 at a time. So, it's just a purpose. It's an intention. And if you have nothing scheduled, it could be just as simple as telling the gal at Dunkin' Donuts, oh, my God, you look great today. Let me ask you, are you a mother? Tell me about your kids. And then boom. See, everybody has an incredible story. Everybody ultimately mostly likes to talk about themselves. Mm-hmm. And in order to be memorable and to do something great, it's as simple as a compliment, but it's also as simple if you have the skills to pull that story out, right? Every person, I don't care who it is, has an unreal story, and it's probably cooler than yours. And so that's what I try to do with my life, every day, no matter where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And taking that almost, one step deeper, one of the other things that, I read, and I think you had said at one point is, that effort, taking that deliberate effort to do just that, is something that, you do when you really believe in something. And,
right.
And that's what I want to really kind of talk about for a little bit is,
Sure.
You're doing all this amazing work.
Thank you.
You've been inspired to write a book. You do have a great story. What is it that's driving you to put forth all of this effort? What is it that Glenn Bill believes in that's
right.
really making him go out there and have this impact on the world?
It's probably I'm a pretty spiritual guy, to be honest with you. I start every day on my knees. I was just at communion at 8:00 at our church, so I start every day receiving communion. I'm Catholic with not a bunch of old people. They're my dear friends, but they're retired, right? And I always walk into my suit and they're like, dude, what are you doing today, right? And so, I feel like, I'm spiritually driven, and I'm not here to waste time, and I'm not here to be a zombie, but I'm here really to spread the word of God, not to get too evangelistic, but in my own way, privately and quietly, and that's helping other people change the way they think about themselves, about their situations, and about maybe their family and their relationships. So what I try to do with the University of Attitude and the Attitude Movement is to help people understand why they think the way they think, why they make the decisions the way they make the decisions. And I try to engage with them on the two things everybody has in common, which are problems and relationships. And so that's, the thrust of what I do. Because we know, I always ask our audiences, right, when you look at the people that affect your attitude most negatively, how many people would raise their hands if it's somebody they're actually related to? Hands go up, right? And so, that's kind of what drives me is I want people to be happy. And I want people to see the positive, and no matter how bad it is, right? And our attitude boosters love adversity. And it's, one of those things that you go, life is hard, and life can be hard. I can lose a job. I can lose a parent. I can get cancer. My kid can die from crack. My kid can get addicted to crack, whatever. Mm-hmm. And you sit there and you go, why am I going through all this trouble and this pain, and why is God putting me through this? And then all of a sudden you get through it and you go, I get it. So I like to deliver hope to people, and I know anybody, if you're in real estate, I know that you got some adversity going on. And obviously somebody always has more adversity than you. And so what we try to do with the Get Attitude podcast and the Gap and the book and keynote addresses is help break through all that and help people not be in a zombie state where they're immobilized, where their thought is frozen. And we try to open their hearts and open their minds and say, you know what, I do have a life worth living. I do have some value here. I need to think differently, and Glenn helps me think differently. We know the quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions you ask yourself about your life. So what I do is I try to help people ask quality questions about their life in order to raise them up. I mean, that's what's going on with me.
So one thing that I absolutely love is your energy, right?
Oh,
that
thanks.
is not something that you see a lot, right? And you talked
Right.
about the zombies of the world and whatever else. So walk our audience through, is there something that you do daily to help with that energy? You talked about the spiritual side. Is there something physical, or you work out? Is there a morning routine, that kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm not doing a great job at it right now. I can tell you that because I've got a lot going on. But at its simplest form, Tony Robbins, I've done every Tony Robbins program there is. I'm in the cult, yada, yada. Love my people, Tony people. But he calls it priming yourself for a day. Mm-hmm. And then there's Hal Elrod, the Miracle Morning, which I'm sure you've done. So it's all good. I at a minimum, what different goals in my life is I wanted to walk or run a marathon every week. So that's, 21.3? Mm-hmm. Right, 21.3, or is it 26? Jason, how much? Google
26.3, I think.
26.3, yeah. So I really set a 26.3 mile goal. And then my goal, because that was tough. That was tough, but that's when I was rolling. Walk or jog, it's cool.
Yeah.
But, man, if you're walking 26 miles, right, that's a good week.
That is a good week.
And that keeps the pounds off. And then my next mantra was 5K a day. I'd always just at least try to do 3.1 miles a day, whether it's a mile run. I would do like a mile run, mile walk, mile run, or I'd do mile walk, mile run, right? So that was good. And then I've also done stuff where, Jack LaLanne. You guys know who Jack LaLanne was? You're so young.
Oh, Jack.
You guys are so. Jack LaLanne was like the physical guru back in the 1950s and 60s on TV.
Okay. Didn't he used to carry a truck or something in his teeth? Isn't that
Probably.
that guy?
He probably.
Okay.
You need to look up Jack.
I got it.
But like Jack LaLanne had it down. Like jumping jacks, push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups. You don't need a gym. Let's keep it simple. So I have a rebounder. I believe in what are called their little trampolines, and 100 jumps on that rebounder. Great Christmas gift for people. That creates equilibrium shifts and blood shifts in your body. So I'm a big rebound guy. Love to do 100 jumping jacks in the house, loud, stretching out, getting that whole body flow. And then, a quick set of push-ups, a quick plank, and then I'll do a yoga pose for there's my man, Jack LaLanne. There he is, baby. And I'll do just as simple as a down dog or a child's pose for about 3 or 4 minutes. That usually takes me 3 to 5 minutes to get through that, and that's how I prime.
Cool.
Yeah,
Very
and
cool.
sometimes I don't do it at all. Sometimes my ass is so on the line, because we're all real estate agents. You got 3 listing appointments, you got buyers, you got closings, you got podcasts, and you don't have time. And so you better be in peak state or you're done.
Yeah.
Right. So that's how I do it.
That's the truth. Austin and I were just talking about that, and just one day of missing a morning, or skipping out on a workout or that morning routine. It's just amazing at how it can almost set you back a step or two going into the day versus propel you forward a step or two to start the day.
Right.
You mentioned something as you were just talking, there, and your book talks about this as well, but that dynamic of emotional intelligence.
Sure.
I don't think that's something that maybe a lot of people are overly aware of, but it's, and I've just started to learn about that this year myself. So
Sure.
Tell us about what that is. What is, emotional intelligence, state management? Because
Sure.
that stuff's important, and very few people actually talk about
Yeah,
this.
it's what changed my life when I got hip to it, and I got a lot of it from Tony and his programs. But emotional intelligence, it gets back to, why do we do what we do, right? What drives us? What's the driving force within us, which is what you just asked us. And we know that human beings are emotional creatures, right? So we make decisions, whether you believe it or not, based on emotion. Now, you can make decisions logically, but your action will be fueled by the emotion that you attach to the logical decision. And the 6 emotional reasons that you do things are the emotion of certainty, to create more certainty in your life, and the antithesis of that is to create variety or uncertainty. Then it's to have significance in your life. The reason I'm doing this is to become significant, or I'm doing it to create love and connection. So those are the 4 basic emotional needs. And then there's 2 spiritual, that they call them, needs, which are called growth and contribution. So anything you do, any decision you make, any goal you set, when it says reason, and people write the reasons, I say just write one of the 6, because that's why you're doing it. You're doing it to gain significance in your life, to become more certain, to create variety, to connect and love others, or to grow, or to contribute. And then the cool thing about emotional intelligence in its simplest form, and I can do this for 10 hours, is any activity that you do that checks the box for 3 or more of those actually becomes an addiction. And so when you look at addiction, whether it's addiction to exercise, addiction to taking loans, addiction to selling homes, addiction to running a business, addiction to doing a podcast, right? Chances are, if you're doing something a lot, you're checking the box on 3 of those emotional attributes. Unfortunately, when you smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, take drugs, look at porn, whatever it might be, those are checking the boxes for people. So that can be used to the good or to the bad. And that's why people do what they do. So understanding that and delving into that, that's like a 3-minute seminar. I usually will do these for an hour. I'm getting ready to do one for Indy Parks on this topic, and we'll take an hour, and I still won't even get to it. But the awareness of that can really help you understand how to create patterns and behaviors, and to cease patterns and behaviors. So, yeah, that's deep. We got deep on that.
It could get, a heck of a lot deeper. I can only imagine, as you, I can see your face light up when you talk about it. So it's easy to see how passionate you are about it. Where'd that come from? What was it that really started to fuel that in the beginning? Was it really just your desire to truly help people, learn about themselves and grow, or was there something more?
Well, I think, Jim Rohn said it best. The biggest stress in people's life is when they don't live up to their God-given, well-known potential. When people are not living the life they know that they should be living, That causes depression and lack of action, or it fuels you, right? And so I've always had a pretty big self-image. Had a great family, had great parents, great brothers and sisters. I was the youngest of 5. So, I had to battle when it was all said and done. And so, ultimately I just always, I got into personal development when I was 19 and broke, right? And so how did it all start? I mean, where was the drive? I was broke with a family. I had 4 kids by the time I was, I think, 25 or 26.
Wow. Yeah.
And I owned a franchise business at 23. So never afraid to just dump all kinds of risk onto myself. And that's, really what did it. My friend Brian Sanders, a good friend of mine, he goes, oh, hell, I'm just terrified, I'm fearful of what could happen if I don't act. And when I train real estate agents and loan originators, we talk about prospecting, who wants to prospect, and we talk about, they say, I don't prospect because it's too painful. And one of my big teaching points is, no, not prospecting has to become too painful. Mm-hmm. See, and that's the realization. That's the little thing you got to help people understand. And I make people, I'm like, if you drive by a for sale by owner, it's got to become somehow too painful not to go knock on that door. Well, when I was 22, 23 and broke and had no money and had kids, driving by a for sale by owner would be too painful. If I didn't call on that, I was failing my family. Mm-hmm. But most agents drive by there and they go, it's too painful to call on it, and so they just move. So that one little shift in how you talk to yourself makes all the difference in the world. And you know what? I called on more buy owners than anybody. I listed more buy owners than anybody, and I created a for sale by owner system, and now I sell it with Source of Sales. And it's all based on this thing called fear, and it's based on this thing called attitude. So,
I love that. It's that same feeling, right? When you pass maybe another real estate company sign, or you see a mortgage company doing something else, and it irks you, right? And you got to get to the office right then and do something about it, right?
Right. You're like, how did that person get a loan from them?
Yes. So really curious. You've been in the industry for a long time. You've got a lot to add to this topic, and we ask most of our people this. What do you see the industry doing, right? There's a lot of iBuyer talk, and there's technology here, and there's all these kinds of different things that are coming down in the real estate side of this industry. Where do you see the real estate world being in 18, 24 months? What's that look like?
So, I as I look at the real estate landscape over the past 30 years, it's new territory.
Yeah.
I believe with all my heart that the top agents and the top teams run the market, period. Mm-hmm. And I think when you so that's number one. You need to be a top agent or a top team. Mm-hmm. I don't care what company you're with. I think companies are becoming less and less important.
I agree.
There are companies that do a great job getting you up and running, but we all know, because I did it for 30 years, I get everybody up and running, they become successful, and then they leave because they're a top team and a top agent. So number one, the one thing that will never change is if you are cultivating your client base and that's all you're focusing on, they're always going to pay you. They're always going to select you. I don't believe good real estate agents are going to get beat out because another brand is going to give you 50,000 Amazon points to buy a TV. And if they do, then you shouldn't be the realtor anyway.
Right.
So what I don't see changing is top agents and top teams running the market. What I do see changing, and we see it, it's happening, are large franchises losing agents because the value provided to top producers and top agents is not there. And their top producers are just not going to pay 5, 6, whatever points they take off the top for no value. It's just not going to happen. iBuyers, look at iBuyers is just one of the 50 ways corporations and big real estate companies who are losing top agents are trying to get between the consumer and the agent. Mm-hmm. And, Zillow said it best. I sit in on these meetings. I see it. You know what? I can charge an agent $280 a month to generate them leads. But if I can get 20% of the sale and I put ourselves between the buyer or the seller and their agent, instead of $280 a month, I'm making $2,800 a month.
Yep.
So the bottom line is you better create really, really strong personal relationships with your customers. And I don't think any corporation is going to be able to penetrate that, no matter how many points they're going to give you. But I do believe, it's obvious the pricing and the revenue side is getting squished because of that. But such is America, and the good agents are still able to charge more than the bad agents. But I think the quote unquote managing broker and or the company broker, I think unless things change, I see that as a continued erosion of that. And then I think, newer companies, newer national companies that are saying it's about the agent-owned business. Ryan and my company, EXP, every agent's an owner, right? And so that's a big difference.
Sure.
And so I think agent-owned companies are going to be where it's at. I think it's going to get back to agents and top agents running things. And I think the giants and the kings of real estate that I call them, they're going to do everything they can to align with the Amazons, the Zillows, the iBuyers, in order to control and get in between their agents and the customers. I talked about just with an agent the other day, these corporate relocation programs that big companies have. They're getting in between the agent and their customer, and they're taking fees off the top. Everything, big brokerages right now, the only way to be profitable is to get in front of their actual agent, from what I'm seeing, and saying, look, we're going to bring you leads, but you're going to pay us for them. So, you're either a self-sustaining agent or you're not. I think the model works. For some people, they go, I don't care. You hand me business, I'll work for X amount less, and I'll pay you for that. I don't know if that's sustainable. I think we work really hard for our money. And I think after you do 15 to 20 of those deals where they're handing to you and you're not getting paid, you go, that ain't happening anymore for me. So that's where I see it. Yeah.
I think models like that, and I certainly built my business on doing a lot of just that right there, where opportunities are maybe handed to you, or here's 10 people to reach out to that have gone through this process or this funnel, if you will.
Right.
But you just hit the nail on the head. You do that 10, 15 times until the point where you've got this, and now you know how to do it a little bit, especially if you've got that initiative and that effort that you talked about earlier. And all of a sudden you're like, no thanks anymore.
Yeah.
You're looking for other ways to build value and connect with
and I got, I'm working funnels and I'm doing all that, Facebook ads. And, the bottom line is I don't want to live a real estate career where hey, we're doing great. I got 50 emails from a e-campaign on Facebook. I don't want to call those 50 people to find one deal, right? I'd rather talk to my 100 or 200 people that love me and get a referral.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find somebody else to do that stuff. So generating leads is the name of the game.
Yeah.
I get that, but helping agents cultivate their existing client base, I think, is where that's what my passion is. That's what the Source of Sales is all about, that program. We have a Source of Sales Facebook page. It's fairly inactive, but we're ramping that up. And the bottom line is you are the source. And so we need to work on the source to improve the source to get more deals. Yeah.
So wrapping this up,
yes.
Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you. We
cool.
revisited that earlier in the podcast, but let's recap that on how people can get a hold of you.
Right. Well, the best way to get a hold of me is text me 317-590-7757.
That's awesome.
I'll take any calls. I don't care.
Love it.
If you want to learn about me, go to glennbill.com.
Yeah.
Go to the YouTube page. Hit my Facebook personal page is gone, but you can hit me at Attitude, University of Attitude Movement, Glenn Bill Speaker. But to engage with me, LinkedIn's probably the best way to reach out. Just go to LinkedIn Glenn Bill, because that has no limits, and you can message me. And if you want a keynote, if you want a seminar, if you want to buy the Source of Sales program that I have, all you got to do is just reach out on LinkedIn. There it is, Glenn Bill. There it is with the flag. There's Jason up top. Yeah, so hit me on LinkedIn. That's a great way to do it.
Well, I'll tell you, this has been one of our best podcasts. We really, truly appreciate you coming on. This has been great.
No, absolutely great story, Glenn. We highly, highly appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your morning to sit down with us, share your story. I know there's a wealth of takeaways for anybody that had the opportunity to sit down and listen to this, so thank you.
Cool. Really like I said, you guys are doing a great job. I listened to Real Stories of Success, and I saw your market report on your, I think, 1 or 2 ago. That was awesome. So if you're a real estate agent, guys, stay with Austin and Ryan. Their podcast is doing good things. It's an opportunity to learn, and it's 30 minutes out of your day. So Great job for you. It's an honor to be here.
We appreciate it. Thanks so much. And that is it for this episode of Real Stories of Success. If you took something away from this, please be sure to hit that bell, like, comment, subscribe, share, reach out to us. We're happy to help, and we're here to help. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys.